44. I don't. Yeah, I didn't say it last week, and now I'm afraid to say it this week. But I'm your host, Justin Granson. With me, as always,
It's me, Chuck. How's it going,
and
everybody?
And Dan.
hey guys.
All
So
right.
we were just talking about how old man tired we all are, and
Well,
well,
I feel
except for
like
you, Chuck. You seem
I'm
okay.
hungover. I should just wear some
there
sunglasses.
you go.
They kind of work. I'd keep them on because they work with your background. You got that
Oh,
whole like 80s
Yeah.
Miami Vice.
Yeah,
You
totally.
like Miami Vice Coruscant.
Yeah,
You know,
totally. That's
they're
totally it.
polarized though, so it's like really hard to see the screen.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I
Well,
hate
you don't
that
need
about.
to. You don't need to see.
Unless you turn your head
That's
sideways. If you
overrated.
turn your head sideways, you can see the screen, right?
Those are my Riz glasses.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
What? Okay.
So we're back on track. It's Thursday, and
Yes.
second arc of Andor popped,
Oh,
and
man.
we're gonna get on it right away.
Man.
And Dan, you said you wanted to go episode by episode this week. Is that how you want to do it? Still?
Yeah. Let's,
Yeah, let's go
Okay.
episode.
I think these episodes definitely could do it. We could do it that way. All right. Well, Dan, did you take notes this week?
I did not as thorough because, like we've been talking about, I've been so tired the last few days, and what was it? Tuesday night I didn't watch them right when they were hit. I fell asleep at like 9 o'clock. So
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I had to watch
I
the.
do
Yeah.
have notes on the first one, right?
Okay, let's do
All
it.
right.
And I think episode 4 opens up with Binks having her nightmare with what's his name?
The doctor.
Gertz or Gortz?
Gorsh, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it probably has the best line in the series so far, and I think it's really epitomizes everybody's internal struggle, both sides of the story here, or all sides of the story. Everyone has their own rebellion. I think that really should be the tagline for the series at this point, because
I kind of feel like they had that as a tagline at some point. Like either it was like during some of the Rogue One, you know, some of that stuff, or like some of that marketing, or possibly in Andor season 1. It just something about that I remember hearing that line before that. But yeah, I that was pretty good.
Her in season 1, right? I think that's one of the things that he tells her, but he says it to her in her dream again, and that's how it opens up. And I think it's a good way, a poignant way to open this week's episodes.
Well, it's definitely going to echo the end of season or episode 3 of this week. So yeah, so we get more. They're in Coruscant, but now it's a year later, BBY 3, and they're in a safe house in Coruscant, where it sounds like Bix and Cassian have been doing missions for the entire year, back and forth. Seems that you guys, and you're gonna, because again I'm so tired, you're gonna have to help me. I don't have notes. Everything's in my head, so you guys are gonna have to tell me when I'm getting off track and have to bring me back in and remember the things that were happening in it.
That's cool.
So, but one of the main things is that Luthen is looking to split them up, and which is going to be one of the main themes of these episodes also. That's going to be really important in that he's asking Cassian to go on a trip to Gorman. And I think I've jumped ahead a little bit too much here. I'm kind of sticking with the Cassian part. But one of the things that starts that is, and this is like one of those things with themes, is what is more important? Is the cause more important, or the people that you are fighting for and fighting to be with more important? Where love becomes a very key element of these 3 episodes. We see that with Cassian, and in weird ways also with Cyril and Dedra. Do we get Cyril and Dedra in this episode? Yeah, we do, right? Like pretty early on, I think, too. Because
next episode is where they're featured.
What's that?
They're really featured next episode.
Next episode, okay.
This episode, they're really the only interactions they have is him calling her and her walking him.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, where he sneaks in because he is on Gorman. We get to finally see some spiders in action. We see how Gorman works. We see all the things there. And actually, it does start out earlier with Gorman before Cassian gets there, because we get introduced to a lot of the things happening there.
Mhm.
And it's actually through Cyril, because Cyril is walking through the city, and that's our first bit.
Yep.
And Cyril is working for the Empire,
The Bureau of
the Bureau, but he's not ISB. He's not anything
No, he's
officially.
still doing the
He's
same
just
job.
he's a dude doing his thing.
the Bureau of
And
Standards.
yeah, so he's in charge of keeping track of all the cargo that's coming through there for what the Imperials are dealing with. So he's kind of like in I don't know, like supply chain. He's a bean counter. He does all that. So he's all formalities, but there's other stuff going on with him that we find out later. And this is the part that kind of is when we get later on in that's the part that's going to screw up one of my predictions, possibly. But we'll get to that stuff later. All right, so we got Gorman. I don't know. What do you guys think of Gorman, New Planet?
Did you watch the Declassified for this week? Yeah. So I thought it was really, really good. There's a couple spoilers in there for next week. I don't know if you caught those. But Gorman's it's really interesting. They base it on Turin, Italy.
Yes.
But they based the language on French, a dialect of French.
Yeah, it's definitely a dialect. Cool. Yeah.
And hired all French actors.
Yep. And they by the time they were done, they had invented an entire language. They said that they were talking, speaking it offset, off.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
really cool.
It was cool. I think it's really well done. It reminded me of a zillion, which is why they chose French actors. A zillion, World War II movies where you have the French or Dutch resistance.
I noticed the costuming was very World War II era. Yeah.
Oh, the berets were just great. They just leaned right into it and everything.
The dress,
I was waiting for a Viva la Gorman, but didn't quite get there. I thought that was pretty cool with like having. I like when fiction creates its own languages, similar to like Klingon in the Star Trek world, or Lord of the Rings, how they did Elvish. I think it sounds better. It doesn't, because most of Star Wars is "Gunk," and then it's like just some big dude yelling at a little dude or something in a cantina, and that's fine also. But like, I guess when you want to flesh out, because when I was watching it with my son, he's like, "Dad, is this the first time they've had like humans speaking a different language and subtitled them?" And I couldn't find another place in any of the live action stuff, at least.
Yeah, I think
so. It's very possible in Clone Wars or in Rebels it happened, but I don't think in live action.
Unless the sand people are human, but I don't think they are.
Well, they're not seeing their faces, so it's like I'm talking like actual human faces, not behind a mask or a helmet or anything like that. And I think it might have been the first time they've actually used a language for that. So I thought that was a pretty neat thing that he picked up on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they all just understand each other, right? No matter what language they're speaking, for the most part, right?
Yeah, because I mean, in the Star Wars universe, they're not speaking English.
Right.
It's just we hear it as English, so we can understand the show.
Yeah.
Did all three of us decide to like wear the same shirt today or something?
Yeah, just blue shirt.
It's like royal blue.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm good with it.
It's just blue. I don't know.
Anyway, for those just listening, we're wearing blue shirts.
Let's talk a little bit about Cyril and Deidre in the game they're playing on Gorman, right? So they are running they are actually fomenting the rebellion, right? That's
absolutely
what they're actively doing.
Yep.
They're setting them up, and I won't. They are trying to get Cyril into the Gorman resistance.
At the very least, he's going to feed them the information that that they will act upon, because what they want to do is get them to do something horrible that the Empire can then show. Look at what happened on Gorman. We have to put people in there to keep the peace.
Right, but the lengths that they go, and I don't want to skip ahead to the next episode too much, but the lengths that they will go to make it believable, right? And, I think I'll wait on this thought till we get to the next episode at the
This is
least.
what I like doing, the story threads.
Well,
Yeah.
in this episode though, he talks to his mother, and she's like, I can't remember if that's like the very first scene where he's like
It's
talking,
early in there, but
and
I mean,
she's like, "Why did you leave? Deidre? Why did you give up? They stuck you on this backwater planet. It's a demotion." And she's like chewing him out.
More than that, though, because she's feeding into all the
Yep.
propaganda of how bad these Gormans are, how ungrateful they are, how they're elitist, how they're all, it's just like the propaganda machine is just going wild outside of the planet. So to,
Right, and then he tells her,
sympathy
"No,
for the Empire."
yeah," and he's like, "You're wrong. It's not like that. These are great people." So he's standing up for them, which is giving them the clue, hey, this guy might be on our side. We should,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're listening in on that because they have got him tapped in all different places, and he knows it.
Yeah.
He's got listening devices in his office. He's got,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Cyril, in this these 3 episodes, I loved Cyril's arc through all this.
Yeah, how do they make him like one of the more fun characters?
All of a sudden, you're like, I kind of like Cyril right now.
Yeah. It's just like, again, let's wait. We'll talk more about him next because in the second episode, a lot of the extra fun stuff happens with him.
All right, so we, Cyril reaches out to Deidre after this conversation with his mom. Deidre gets all the deets from him, and then we get with ISB intelligence or whatever meeting where we find out more about the goings on around the galaxy with relation to just various different things, right? So one, we learn that they are arresting so many people they can't keep up with the influx of prisoners, right? They can't process them fast enough. They don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, they're not. They can't get the data out of the prisoners and disseminate it fast enough.
Yeah. So that kind of I guess we start to see who's doing what within that group of Imperial intelligence officers, right? I thought the interesting thing was we find out that one of the other officers there is running the Axis program, and the confrontation between Deidre and him in the hallway afterwards lets it slip that Andor is now the subject of Axis. That's who they believe Axis is.
I told you last week. I told you.
No, well, I mean,
they have no idea who Luthen is. Right. No idea.
Yes, now we know that. At least maybe we do. What we do know is more along the lines of Andor is the key to Axis. We don't know necessarily if they know if there's a Luthen or not, right? They obviously don't know Luthen is the guy, as we see in a couple episodes later. But we do learn that this is the episode where we find out that Luthen has a spy in the inner circle of Imperials in Lonnie.
We knew Lonnie.
We knew that from last season.
Lonnie is in last season also.
Did we know that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He comes down the same elevator. He comes down the same elevator, but Lonnie is way shakier in season 1. So he's grown a lot, and his place inside the ISB, he's much more confident. He's got somebody working under him now. Lonnie becomes kind of like the true MVP of this arc too. He really does. He does some great stuff in it. He's still a little fidgety, especially later on, but he's got respect and he's got a lot more info now. Yeah.
Yeah. So we find out that everybody thinks that Deidre has no responsibilities, right? Everybody thinks she's just an outcast for the failure on Ferrix, and her peers believe that and run with that, and then it is let slip that she is running Gorman, and that info gets passed on to Luthen, and they're like, whoa, nobody else knows this. what's going on here? I thought she was an outcast now. I'm guessing they thought maybe they could turn her since she was,
Sure.
on the outs with the Empire, but lo and behold, not quite so fast, right? And yeah, so what I first took from that scene between Lonnie and Luthen is there's cracks in Luthen going on, like big time cracks. Um, he's got this resource inside the Empire. He hasn't seen or heard from him in 3 months. He's getting frustrated. So he makes an appearance in Coruscant with him. And to me, that's like, uh, a big no-no. Luthen is taking some risks, and getting pretty emotional about things going on. So, all right, so we got a big setup there, and then last rules. There's two more story arcs, right? Going on. There's so many story arcs. It's pretty incredible how they weave them all together.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so we do have a little bit of Mon in this episode, right? She is campaigning to get this act. What's it called?
For Gorman. It's an act for Gorman. Um, I think it's just like sympathy for them. Is it an act or is it just like getting them like more
No,
political power in the Senate?
I think it's just to
he's trying
protect
to
them.
get the senator from Gorman to vote against, to repeal this act, the one that saw, that was used to arrest, um, uh, Cassian in season 1, um, where it's the Public Order Resentencing Directive, the PORD Act, right? Um,
That's
so
right.
she is lobbying other senators, and I thought it was pretty telling that even the Gorman senator says it would be insanity for us to go against the Emperor now in the Senate openly, right? Because they've been getting the crap beat out of them, and they don't know why. This is all happening on Gorman. Yeah, so they are not willing to. The senator is not willing to risk anything in the Senate at this point, which is kind of counterpoint to this insurgency that's trying to get off the ground in Gorman. It's on Gorman itself, right? So that's one of our other story arcs going on. And then the last one, of course, is we see Saw Gerrera, right? Saw Gerrera makes his entrance on. Did you recognize the planet?
I sure did
Yeah.
instantly, and I know a lot of people didn't.
I did not.
It's
I
the
had to.
I
it's
caught
the
it
one
immediately.
from
Actually, I caught it. I'm like, wait a minute, this is Force Awakens.
yeah,
And
Yep.
then I
yeah,
looked it up, and sure enough, Dakar.
yeah.
Dakar,
Yep.
it's the place where the Resistance is all. It's at the end of Episode 7 and the very beginning of Episode 8. That's that planet.
Yep.
Weird grab there. Like I thought that was fun though. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we see Saw Gerrera, and Luthen has sent Wilmon to him with this gadget, and it was like really kind of unclear to me at first what it was for. But he's sent there to deliver this gadget that will extract a fuel from a pipeline.
It's ship fuel. It's
Yeah,
yeah. It's the like an X-wing
Starship
fuel.
fuel,
Yeah.
yeah, which is very toxic, and there's some backstory that we find out about more later on in the next episode. Um, but he's there to deliver it and train one of Saw Gerrera's guys on how to use it.
Yep.
Right? So kind of establishing, hey, we got this other thing going on, and that's going to play into I'm going to guess the next 2 weeks pretty good, or pretty big, right?
I would
Yeah.
imagine, yeah.
Yeah. And then, they've kind of, just to kind of wrap up the episode, you talked about, this is one of the few notes I have here is they tie up the episode, where Cassian comes home to Bix, and, he's kind of reminded about his love for her, and he knows he's going to be heading out to Gorman soon. and he wants to spend time with her, and we get a little bit of a little bit of romance going on at the end there.
The
You
hand
know,
gestures.
the hand
I
gesture.
really like that. I really like that moment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And one of the things we didn't talk about is how far Bix is going down, because there's also the bit where I think you might have been getting there,
Yep.
where she's
Yeah, it's after. It's after this
uh
sequence.
Yep.
I think at the end of the
Take notes
episode,
on that.
isn't it the very end of the first episode where she dips into her little vial?
No, the very end is the two of them together. The
Is
next
it?
episode, yeah,
Yeah.
is where they go when he leaves.
Okay,
Um,
so he leaves. That's how she's coping.
she might bring it out, but no, that's in episode 6. She brings it out again while he's there. Um, but yeah, it ends with them together, and then yeah, that's how it kind of kicks it off into episode 5.
Yeah.
So that's
I
where
think
the shit gets real.
episode 5 is where I think is the big episode because everything gets set up. It's where you.
I don't know. Both of them have some moments.
Well,
man.
they do, but
Yeah.
So episode 5 starts out with Bix strung out, right? And
That's right. Okay.
Maybe she does take the drops at the end of episode 4, but episode 5, she's strung out on a mattress on the floor, the apartment in shambles while Cassian's gone.
yeah.
While watching some crazy ass
Like
television
morning
show.
show.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's just like it's like all these shows, because it feels like how in Skeleton Crew, how they pulled the old holiday special stuff out
Yep.
and put it in there. I feel like this is like that same mold. Like, there are two things that seem to be very present in the Star Wars universe, no matter what show you're watching. The entertainment they watch is terrible. Like, it's just god awful terrible, and the food is always gross.
Yep.
There's no food. Like, the drugs look better than the food.
But
You
that's
know?
not true in this series though. The food on Gorman looks awesome.
The
Okay, you know what? You're right. This is the first time, but it's because it's Gorman. They don't even have droids on Gorman. Have you noticed that?
The drinks at the wedding looked amazing.
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a droid on Gorman.
Oh yeah,
Anybody
there
saw
isn't
one?
any droids.
Like, that's like one thing I noticed. I'm like, I don't think there's a droid here. So
Then-
Gorman's interesting just on its own. So yeah. Well, there you go. They've got like cuisine. They've got cuisine on Gorman. They've got clothes. Very high culture. Yeah,
We got
she's also.
Toffee and Mafi on the show, by the way. Or the
Is that
host.
what it was?
Yeah.
So there's like a shot in the cafe later on. I think it's in this episode where there's they have like an espresso machine also. Like, very visible. So yeah, okay. Other than Gorman, the entertainment on Gorman I mentioned is pretty good too. They might have some.
Yeah. So the Good Morning Coruscant show reminded me almost 100% of the Hunger Games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
The wigs, the
Yeah.
crazy makeup, and did you notice the two women, Toffee and Mafi, on the show, like really old too?
Yeah.
They're not young, which in a propaganda machine as we see on TV today, and in our own society, it's always like it's mostly the young girls, young guys, perfect looking. And then but here you got Toffee and Mafi, who look like they've been around since the Phantom Menace.
Well, they're on the morning
We're gonna get
show,
more Toffee and
so-
Mafi at some point. Are they gonna be in there? They're gonna show up somewhere in Star Wars at some point. There's no way they don't like bring that little bit back.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
So is the next part? Is Cassian getting Gorman yet?
Cassian.
Yeah, so this is Caspian the Spy episode.
Yeah,
Cassian is completely decked out.
He's a designer. He's a fashion designer.
What was his name? Like something Sky, right?
Sky was his last. Yeah, and he had the sunglasses. He had the whole look, hair slicked back, almost like a small mullet. Yeah, and he does a great job of like playing that character. One of the things we do find out that is super fascinating is we find about that there are actually 2 Gorman massacres.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting history on this other one. So this is the Tarkin massacre. So right as the Empire took over, so it'd be 16 years before this episode. Right as the Emperor takes over, there's a time where Moff Tarkin. I don't think he's Grand Moff. They've referred to him as Grand Moff at the time, but I think he's still General Tarkin. Just that's one of the things. But he's Grand Moff by the time of this show, so I think that's why they refer to him that way. But he wants to land a ship, and there are over 500 protesters in the place in that center area in Gorman, and he just decides to land it right on top of him and kills over 500 people. Pretty crazy.
The hell?
What's interesting?
They didn't want him to land. They didn't want him to land.
They didn't want him to land, so he said, "Screw you, I'm landing anyway."
Yep.
Now, the interesting part about that is that was the original Gorman massacre that was written into the old role-playing books from back in the 90s.
Wow.
Yes.
So,
cool.
So then when the Gorman massacre was referred to in Rebels and in other media, people were like, "Yeah, but it's not. The times don't necessarily match up correctly." So they did this really elegant job of being like, "No, there were two of them. Well, we don't know what's going to happen yet, but there's for sure one, and who knows what's going to happen next week." But I thought that was kind of cool.
Next week, via the declassified.
We know what's happening. Yeah, it's going to be a bad day.
Yeah, it's not going to be good.
Gorman is going to burn was the words used by the little featurette.
Yeah, I don't think that's any secret or anything, though. I mean, we know it's going to end terrible.
Yeah.
But Cassian's on that trip to find out to see what's going on, and he's going to meet with one of the Resistance people's daughter, and he meets with her in a You know what? He had already gone to the hotel at this point. So that's where the whole Gorman massacre thing is discussed, is at the hotel. And it turns out the bellboy, they don't even have droids bringing up their clothes. I think it's just like they just look at themselves as so higher class, like, hey, we don't do droids. We have humans take care of you here. Yeah. I mean, so that seems to be the aesthetic. But, it turns out that bellboy, his father was killed in that massacre as well. So there's a lot of angst against the Empire throughout that. And we get this, and there's a monument right in the middle of the square where it's got that in there. So I imagine what's going to happen to that next week.
When they promise from the Emperor to never block or shadow the monument, right?
Yes.
Very important.
And they know that building's going to cast a shadow, dude. There's no doubt about it.
That huge monstrous building
gigantic.
that you see in the background the whole time just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep.
Yeah. And so Cassian goes and meets with the daughter, and Cassian slips in and out elegantly to his role as his fashion designer, to being the spy, back and forth, letting her know that she's not being careful. She's just an amateur at this, and she's going to get everybody killed. And just she could be watching any time, and she was too sloppy with him right there because. As he said, you could be my paycheck, So he's showing like he's like becoming Luthen in a lot of ways, and stuff we talked about last week of where he's going to be. So that kind of takes a pause, because then I think that we get more into Cyril at this point, don't we?
Well, and what's fascinating about that, there's a couple of things. Cyril leaves, which is a lucky coincidence, so that they don't run into each other. But that's okay. And then the other thing that I thought happened that was extremely interesting was Luthen went and met with Bix after Cassian left.
Yes.
And what was that about?
So Justin had said what he thought it was, right? Justin, when we were talking about episode 4, you said that you think he's trying to split them up.
He's either testing or he's learning, and I haven't quite figured that out. Well, I think he learned, because I think he doesn't trust Bix at this point. He finds out, he sees when he goes and visits her, he knows she's taking drugs, he knows she's a mess, she's not fit. He was going to say, hey, I'm going to send you on a mission. I don't think he had any intentions really sending on a mission, but I think he had intentions of seeing where she was at and that she's a problem.
Yeah.
Because if she's a problem, this isn't going to work, and he's going to do something about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, how is she going to even come back to Cassian about this? And this also connects back with the story with Cinta and Val.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in so those two story arcs are kind of intertwined, and I'll talk about that a little bit later because
Yeah,
it all
we have
ties
to
into
talk
the
about the
very end of
third
the
one. Yeah,
episode three.
episode 6.
Yeah, and
Yep.
but yeah, that's my take on it, at least based on kind of like where it gets to at the end of the 6th episode.
I feel like we're foreshadowing big time when he goes in to check on her, because like I turned to my wife and I'm like, is he gonna kill her? Like I thought for sure he was there because she was becoming, she's off the chain, man. It's almost to the point where it's like she's going to derail not only herself but she's going to derail Cassian.
Yeah, she's strung out, right?
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
the best way I could put it. That's what I wrote down in my notes. She's strung out on depression and drugs right now, and it's not a good place. In this kind of a situation, right? You're starting a revolution. Loose lips sink ships, right?
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I think he went over there with every intention of dispatching her one way or the other, either off world or out of out of the world,
Mm.
and he ends up having empathy, which I don't think he expected to have. Right?
That's what I get to later on too,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, and I'm gonna have to jump ahead because later on when Cassian then confronts him on this,
Mm-hmm.
the entire thing is just like, why? What am I rebelling for if I have nothing left? If there's
Mm-hmm.
like the gist of it is just like, we do this, but if we sacrifice absolutely everything, there's nothing left for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that with Val and Cinta also, because their entire reason of going on the mission was, Cinta's like, I did, like, only if you were going to be there was I going to do this mission. And they
So,
both had that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
so we
And
get
and
the
so
answer though to that question in this episode, but not from Luthen. We get it from Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera has a great line, and
yeah,
it's
okay, let's go there.
yeah. So they are talking about this at the end of the episode. Let's fast forward a little bit. Wilmon is teaching this guy how to do this gadget to do this really dangerous fuel extraction, and he's
Yeah, the
taking
guy's
too long.
not doing a real good job with it.
Yeah.
Mm.
So we find out that Saw Gerrera at least seems to think he's a traitor and a spy for the Empire. I
No, he
don't. I
doesn't.
think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
No,
It's a
they plan.
plant.
It's a
Yeah. It's a
no.
plant.
He doesn't. He's like, you can't do this. I kill you, so then
Yeah.
I've got
Right.
Wilman to do this. So he kills him, and
Yeah.
then Bentic Two Tubes is like,
Yeah.
ooka ooka, and has the coin as proof,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yep.
the
The
little
kids there. Yeah.
device
Yeah.
that's transporting info. Yeah.
Yep. So anyways, they take Wilmon on this mission to steal all the fuel, and while Wilmon is doing his dangerous fuel line hacking with this gadget, Saw is telling him a story about himself. How he became who he was, and they talk about afterwards. Wilmon takes his mask off because he sees Saw inhaling the fumes from this really dangerous chemical, and Saw like gives him a big bear hug, and he tells him this line I gotta hear: "Revolution is not for the same. We'll all be dead before the Republic is back. We are the thing that explodes when there's too much friction in the air." He's basically saying we're the spark of the revolution. The revolution's going to carry on, long after we're done.
Mm-hmm.
In one way or the other, we're going to go out. So let's go out in like a firework, an explosion in a spark.
Yeah.
Be that spark and just let that flame go. And I
I don't know
think
if
that
that necessarily
Andor,
applies. Yeah, I mean, it does apply to Andor, and it does apply to everybody based on what we know about where they go to.
mhm,
But also, it's just like it's an echo of like the V for Vendetta thing, where it's just like, in order to stop these types of things, you kind of have to build a monster to go out and fight those things and do monstrous things. But
mhm,
that monster really can't keep living because it's corrupted, and it just it's also bad. But that's
right,
like the extreme steps that you take, because Saw is the extreme of all of it. you
right.
know
It takes a monster to kill a monster is essentially
yeah,
where I'm going with it. But I think
yeah.
also, the Empire has had 19 years or almost 19 years to dig its fingers into everything. And I think everybody realizes it's not gonna happen overnight getting rid of it, right? Um, so this is they're in it for the long haul, but at some point they're gonna have to make sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they realize that. I think Luthen kind of keys in on this in the first season at the end when he's talking with Cassian, um, and it's really about he knows that at some point his time is going to come, and he's not going to live to see the end of this revolution. Maybe he's hoping it's Cassian, and at least builds him up to be that a little bit. But I think ultimately they know their situation is precarious, and it could end at any moment, and there's got to be other people to carry it on. So if you go out big, and leave something for somebody else to carry the torch.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he mentions a lot of things that he sacrificed too in there, including his sister.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he says his sister is in. It's like it's all part of that. She is the Rido.
Mm-hmm.
Because she died fighting, and
Mm-hmm.
that's in.
Mm.
I think that's in Rebels. I don't think that's Clone Wars. I
This
get
is
all the Saw
Luthen.
Gerrera stuff. Hmm?
This is Luthen's sister,
No,
or no? This
No,
is Saw
Saw
Gerrera.
Saw,
Gerrera.
Yeah, yeah,
Saw.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He
So
Forrest Whitaker. I don't know, man. That scene was the coolest scene I think so far in the show. Like that whole story of him being in the jungle and it was so hot. Their clothes they just worked naked because they couldn't keep their clothes on and then he said it's just
I
like
thought the chemicals had burned them
the
off.
chemicals. Yeah, he's like no because he said the first time it hit them like their skin started to itch. Everybody
Yeah,
started to itch, and
you
then it started
felt
to
it
burn their
before.
lungs. Yeah, and he
Yeah,
loved it. He loved the sensation of it.
yeah. Well, it also tells you, if you remember in Rogue One, he's got the
Yeah, 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 yeah.
little Darth
It
Vader
screws up
breather
his
thing on him.
lungs. It's gonna
Hmm.
screw up his lungs whatever
Yeah.
they do with that
So
fuel. I don't.
So, and I'm gonna guess that we're all in agreement that Wilmon is not coming back to
No, I don't think
Cassian.
he's
He
coming
is
back.
officially in Saw's camp at this point,
Yeah,
moving forward.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So some other things going on. Clea and Luthen, boom, button heads in
yeah,
this
because this is where
episode.
we find out that at Davil Skulden's estate, where he's gonna have a party in the next episode,
Hmm.
he had been given all this equipment, and one of the pieces is bugged. But they're also going to be doing checking, because they think some of it might be not quite as true relics as they believe that those are,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to discover
The bug.
the
They'll
bug on
find it.
there, and so they got to figure out a way to get to it, and so they're going to have to go to the party,
Yeah, the only way to
and they're
do it is
fighting
to
about it.
go to the
And she's
party.
saying, "You approve this," and he's like, you guys forced me to do it," and then just butting heads. I don't know. Clea became like one of my favorite characters in this show in these 2 episodes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
She's
yeah, yeah.
so
She's
good
awesome.
because she's like really like I felt like after watching these episodes, I'm like, man, she was really criminally underused in the rest of the series so far,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
she really comes out in these last two. It's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting just watching her listen to everything, all
Hmm.
of her
Mm-hmm.
the network of people broadcasting to her.
Well, that's how
Is
it even opens when they show the Andor logo popping up, and you hear all the different communications
Yep.
going. It's
Yep.
Mhm.
incredibly cool.
Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
cool.
But it kind of also shows the breadth of their network of the
Hmm.
rebellion. It's obviously spread out. There were a couple. broadcasts that kept coming in, and I wonder if those are going to play in later. They kept. I didn't write it down, but they kept. There was like at least one or two that kept repeating themselves.
I didn't notice
That
that.
I was listening to. Yeah, so
That's cool.
I wonder if those are other assets that are going to come into play later
Well,
in your next week or the week after.
and in that argument, like Luthen's like, there's so many lies out there, I can't keep them straight anymore. Like he's like, I don't know where everything is and what we've told people. He's like freaking out because it's gotten a little out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's like, you know, in a different way, it's kind of like we talked about Fargo months ago, and how my favorite types of shows are the ones where somebody covers up something and then has to keep on covering it up, and then, you know, it's that dysfunction and how they function. But this is like the opposite in that he's doing it for the right reasons, and the anxiety that's building up there, it works the same way for me. Where this is like top level spy show stuff.
Yeah,
And
it is.
you know, it's just like, but the biggest problem I've had with this show is it's probably too good, because I've had to explain these episodes to everybody. You know, just like because I'll be like, all right, what somebody came up, what's going on? I actually sent them a link to the podcast. Like, oh, you want to know what happened in episodes 1, 2, and 3? Here you go. Listen to this hour and a half, you'll get it. But and we just talked about it. But I've had like 2 or 3 people now for the first week's episodes. I had to like break down and discuss it with them. And then they're like, oh, I might have to go and watch it again. I'm like, go watch it again. And it's like, because I think we are in a world of everybody scrolls on their phone when they watch TV now.
Not this show. You can't do it with this show.
You cannot do it with this show. You cannot do it with this show.
Yeah.
The show's like The Wire. It's every look counts. I mean, like Brasso's look at the farmer, you miss that. You miss the entire point of what he's doing there.
I did miss that. When you broke it down, I was like,
you're watching it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Or just like the nuance of him saying he's a rebel spy. If you're not paying attention there, you're gonna, you might miss, those little nuanced bits in this show are just so spectacular. Anyway, where are we in this episode now?
This is where Cyril goes back to Coruscant, and he gets to meet with Deidre for 1 hour, and then he has to go see his mom.
Oh man!
Turn the lights off, and I'm like, this is getting. This is are they gonna show something? Because I was just like,
yeah, because yeah, there was some serious The Boys stuff going on after that hour. Anyway, the Dedra and Cyril relationship is really amped up, because also he goes and he's talking to ISB, and and what's his name, Partagas comes in, and he's praising Cyril, like, great work, this is amazing, because he's getting this all lined up and he's getting so giddy about everything. And when he's done talking and he leaves, he just looks at Dedra and he's like, if I said that this was the greatest moment of my entire life, would that ruin things, or something to that effect?
Yeah, and she was just like,
he just says it. He says, this is the greatest moment of my life.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, ew.
But she's also like, I'm happy to see you happy. Like, it was so like dismissive of him, though. But I mean,
totally manipulative, both her and Partagas. Was it? How do you say Partagas.
Partagas.
Like he was
he's
like
great.
He like looked at Deidre and then looked at Cyril and was like, yeah, great job, man. Like, it was so condescending, and Cyril has no idea.
But the thing is, like, and so, like, and I'm not sure where I'm going. I'm going to stick with my guns on this. I think I said that Cyril was going to kill Dedra. I think that was my prediction last week. I might be the other way around now.
Maybe.
But the thing is, it's just like I was like, man, they are a team. They're this weird relationship team of being able to do and execute all this stuff. But the key is, he can never find out what the real reason that they're there is. Like, nobody outside that room can know that they want the Calcite. That's the deal.
Right, yeah.
And that's going to be a major betrayal to him at some point. And that's the part that, he thinks he's in along for the whole ride, and he's like part of the team now. When he finds out he's not, that's where things, I think, break with those two.
Maybe.
I think it's going to there's going to be something with the mother that happens. So we didn't talk about how, so he goes and visits his mother, right? So
well, to keep up the charade,
we now had 2 episodes in a row with the mom in, by the way. One in the because they have the phone call, right? And then he goes and visits the mom while he's on Coruscant, which you said you didn't think we'd see her again, and now
I think we'd see her again, but I did say that she's not the one controlling. Dedra's still the one controlling him.
I
agree.
After the events on Gorman, I think the mom is going to pick up on something that Cyril says to her. The mom's going to pick up on and try and use it to control Dedra. Dedra's going to have her whacked, and then Cyril's going to find out, and he's going to be...
I'd be good with this. If this turns out that way, if Dedra is the one who has the mom murdered.
I kind of like to see Dedra.
All right.
Dedra just like go up to her and like choke her to death with something. Like a scarf.
That's my prediction. I think it's pretty similar to the prediction I made last week too, or on Monday.
I don't think she's going to factor in.
Here's what I think's going to happen, and I think you're both wrong, because I think Dedra.
The mom's a Jedi.
No.
Oh, okay.
Hilarious.
Is the spider going to bite her?
The spider comes alive, bites her. She turns into Spider-Man. No, I think Dedra is not going to betray Cyril. I don't think she will. I think she loves him, and I think that she's going to screw up because she's going to go in to save him.
You think
okay? I don't think so. But
I think so. I don't know. I love her. She's like one of my most favorite characters on the show because she's just so good at being cold and evil, and you're just like, damn, that's the kind of person, if you're trying to do something like this, that's the kind of person you want to find.
But this is the type of person that also is needed to run a fascist empire.
Yeah.
She's not going to change. I don't think she changes.
I don't know.
She's on the inside. She knows what's going on. Cyril doesn't. Cyril's the one he's the Hudsucker proxy here.
Yeah,
he's the patsy for all of it.
Yeah, but I think he's just as emotionless and cold.
He's all emotion. She's no emotion. She's all emotion. Or he's all emotion. She's none. So
maybe.
He's the one that walks off in a dinner thing and flops onto a bed because.
That's true. That's true.
He's always been like the big emotional baby.
So he's like an emo person. He's like
totally.
She's just a psychopath.
She's absolutely a psychopath. Absolutely a psychopath. So, and that's one of the things that they mention her as a character, and how she portrayed doing what how she uses men to do things for her, because she read up on psychopaths for the character, and one of the things that you'll see men commit these atrocities as psychopaths, but not so much the women. The women will manipulate men into doing it, or others into doing it. So it's just like, so she's like, I know who this character is now. Pretty good.
That's kind of a bummer then. I guess Cyril's fine.
Well, we'll see. We still got.
Do you think? Okay,
we're only halfway through these seasons.
Do you think Cyril goes through some kind of like redemption process?
He's the only one that could. He's the only one that could. Yeah. I say he does. I say he feels betrayed and turns against it, but not in a way that he becomes a rebel, in a way that he's just like, meh, like takes his ball and goes home, whether that means blowing up, killing them, and killing himself, something like that. But I think he will turn on her.
Interesting.
Or he's just killed off because he's just
I think absolutely he will work within the Empire to take care of Deidre because he feels betrayed because Deidre's going to kill his mother.
Well,
but
see,
but
I
no,
don't even think that's necessary though, and the reason why is because every single character in this show thinks they're a good guy, thinks they're doing things for the right reasons. And when
I
it
don't
comes to like
think
the
that.
Krennics and the Dedras, they're the psychopaths. They're the nut jobs that really think they're like, this is how you do it. This is how you, and they want that power and they want those things. Mon Mothma thinks she's doing the right thing. All these characters are thinking they're doing the right thing. And I think Cyril's one of them. He thinks he's doing the right thing until he realizes I'm not doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one that's set up to find out he's not because he's let out of the loop.
I think his devotion to Deidre, though, it doesn't matter what she does, he will stay dedicated to her.
Okay.
To her.
His devotion to Deidre is not Deidre herself. He sees her as a construct of the Empire in law and structure.
Okay.
So
Okay.
To me, he seems like a classic, you know, I don't know what the psychological term is, but he needs control. He has no control. What did you say?
The wuss.
Yeah, no, he cannot exist without
he's dependent.
structure
he's
in his life because it's the only way and maybe it's because he is a coward, but he has no control over things in his life. So that's why he, was a security guy because that gave him control. And when that's failed, he went and, let his mom bring him to be part of the Bureau of Standards, right? There in Coruscant. And he worked his way through.
No. There's the element of he was always the kid who got picked last in playing, whatever Star Wars game they were playing when growing up. And he decided he was always the one getting bullied, and now he's taking the path to be the one that can be the bully. Because he wants that control that he never had.
Never ever been a point where you see a flash of morality in him. There is the only morality he knows.
Like I said, he does not turn to be moral. He turns because he is betrayed. That's why.
Maybe,
Because the people he thought were doing everything the right way were always lying to him. And I do not think he turns to be a good guy / rebel. I think he just turns on them. That's just a prediction. This is all prediction, folks. This is all prediction. I think these are all really good ideas, though. Like I really like all these, and I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else in this? At the end of this episode, we find out. We had the speech that we talked about on Monday between Luthen and Cassian, right?
Yes.
Where he's like, "You're not a thief anymore. I'm a soldier. No, you need to be a leader."
Like a leader.
Right?
Yeah.
And we find out that when he sends Cassian to Gorman, he knew Cassian wasn't going to be the right person for the job, or at least he suspected. So he sent Lev there as well. And Lev shows up, and she sees Cinta's there too, right? And we find out in the next episode that she specifically told Luthen that she wouldn't go unless Cinta came.
Right.
There's a really cool shot of Cinta and Lev in the restaurant.
Yeah.
In the window, and they're each sitting in a window, and it's like the Taoist yin yang, and they're each in one of the different pods of it, and it's a really
cool
notice
shot. That's amazing.
Yeah, somebody I can't take credit for it. That was on Reddit. Somebody took a pretty cool picture of it, and I was like, oh, that's a neat shot. And then when I watched it again, I'm like, there it is. Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah. So episode 3 or 6.
Yeah,
we're on 6. So let's bring this home.
This episode, oh man, I was full of anxiety. Especially the last half of this episode, I was just like, I just kept thinking everything's gonna go bad because I know at some point everything goes bad, but that was
not in the way that you expect, right? So, I'll give you my perspective of the Gorman action, right? So we see Cyril on a rooftop. He's spying on Lev and Cinta as they get ready to ambush this thing, and we find out the whole thing is a setup.
It's Vel. We keep saying, you started me saying Lev. It's Vel.
Sorry, Val. Yeah.
Yeah, we flipped it. I got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Val, and so the way we're hearing it is as the scene unfolds and as the scenes unfold of the ambush of the weapons that they're going to steal, it makes you think that, hey, all right, the Empire's going to come and crush them now and force some kind of confrontation. And then as it unfolds, we find out that no, they're literally arming the rebels so we can have a much bigger, more involved uh, insurgency, which will provoke the Empire to build up
Respond.
to protect and do something to the population of Gorman to justify the strip mining that needs to be done of the calcite on the planet, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was a really good manipulation of the audience. With all the other manipulations going on, we have a real manipulation of the audience of the show to think it's going to unfold one way when in reality they're unfolding in another way. Right?
Yeah, but it does go bad though. I mean,
It goes bad because we've got. Let's finish up that storyline. So it goes bad because, again, we've got, just like we had on Yavin 4, we've got a bunch of idiots that don't know what they're doing, not trained, not following orders, making mistakes, and when mistakes are made, people die.
Mm-hmm.
And so we lose Cinta.
Yep.
I didn't expect that. I did not expect that.
I
Not seeing
totally
that
expected.
When that
I
you totally
absolutely
expected
yes.
Cinta.
I knew Cinta was going to die. I knew she was going to die. Yeah.
But again, it was, and guess what? Now this is the third character that has had major contributions to the rebellion that has died, or like the act of their death was done off screen. So we had Mon Mothma's friend taken off with Cinta. We don't see that death happen. That one's not as much, but we don't see Brasso get shot either.
Right.
We see the stormtrooper take aim.
Yep.
And we don't see him actually take a blaster though. Same with Cinta here. It's fired. But we don't see her get shot.
Right.
So I'm expecting the next, this is going to be a common theme throughout the rest of these episodes in these arcs.
Oh,
so
speaking of that, can we talk about another death that happens off screen, that the Imperial soldier that Bix keeps dreaming about, and she has a whole discussion with Cassian when Cassian returns about the soldier, because Cassian apparently killed some guy who was innocent, but he just happened to be.
But he was an Imperial.
He knew her face.
He saw her face, and that was too much. And that's part of Cassian's overprotection of Bix.
Yeah, but that's a whole story that unfolds off camera that we don't even know about.
And my guess, okay, so there's two of those so far in this arc. So we've also got we've got the rebel pilot that landed on Yavin 4 that we didn't see his story. So remember, each year was supposed to be a full season. And they took each season and made it a 3-hour arc. So I'm guessing this is stuff that got cut. So I'm guessing the rebel pilot from the Yavin 4, or the one that was working with Cassian that got murdered, that was an arc. And the Mia, that leader that got killed, also was another arc. You've got the rebel that landed on Gorman that gets referred to.
Yeah.
And then now you've also got the Imperial kid that Cassian kills. So yeah, those are all story arcs that I bet you in the fleshed out version of these seasons would have been in there.
Do we find out later that maybe that Porco, the rebel fighter on Yavin 4, didn't die there, and actually is the pilot that crash landed on Gorman, trying to deliver the radio to the Gorman rebels? And it was all a mass manipulation by Luthen on Yavin 4.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right. So
that's
back to Gorman.
Yeah, back to Gorman. Where were we?
So we had two Gormans that did not trust Val and Cinta, who they told them, and they knew they were a problem, right?
Yep.
Told them no blasters. And one of them pulls a blaster, gets into a kerfuffle with another Gorman who just happens to be walking down the street, but was featured in the first episode
Yeah,
at the town hall.
Yeah, he's one of the bigwigs.
Who was very much against the Empire,
Yeah.
right? But instead of trusting his fellow Gorman on the street, you don't want to come down the street right now. They get into I'm on the kerfuffle. Sounds fun to me, so we're gonna.
I love it. It's good.
It's a good word.
Keep using it.
Great word.
Yep. And the blaster goes off, catches and that's the impetus for that scene at the end.
At least she got to do a flip before she died.
Oh my god, that was the coolest shit ever. Wasn't
so
it?
when they take the transport out with the bombs, she flips over it, puts the little ion charge or whatever EMP disruptor on the thing, and she flips over it though. And I was like, all right, yeah.
Disrupted the driver of the.
Yeah, you see the guy kind of flop. Yeah.
Yeah, he got like shocked or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, I like how that. Also, when that transport breaks, and when it kind of crashes, it's got like my favorite Star Wars sound effect. That's like the same one they use when the Millennium Falcon can't go into hyperspeed or light speed. Yep, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. They use that for that. I'm like, there we go. That's the stuff. So that all happens, and then the speech afterwards.
Yes. That's what I was just about to start. I was just about to talk about that.
Go ahead, talk about it.
She gives the speech to the guy that didn't take the orders. And didn't follow orders, and she's like, "This is on you. You're gonna wear this this is like your skin. You're gonna wear this the rest of your life." And she just like really lays into him, and she's like, "Don't." She starts yelling at him at the end. Like, I don't remember everything in the speech. I just do remember. She's like, "Don't cry, don't cry." And I turned to my wife and I'm like, I think she's telling herself. Like, she's definitely telling him not to cry, but I think she's telling herself not to cry right now.
Yeah, she obviously leveled up. She was the more carefree one. Now she's a Cinta.
I honestly thought she'd kill the guy. I thought, she's gonna kill this guy.
I think
I was
season
shocked.
1 she would have. Season 1.
Season 1, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she's grown into a leader now though, and she understands those sacrifices. But that's also like going into like what I was talking about with Luthen, putting the two together. Not knowing that was going to happen, but him realizing that these human interactions need to be. They're important, and that's why I want to talk about Cassian and Bix for the end for the last.
Yeah, we have to.
We have to. So can we jump over to the party?
Yeah.
Because it's got one of my favorite moments in there, and that is the reintroduction of Bail Organa as Mon Mothma arrives at the party.
Yeah,
Bail Organa's leaving the party.
It was such a lame scene. I was like, we finally get to see him, and he's just like, hey,
it's
good luck.
Pure genius. It's pure genius. You know why they did it?
Why?
Because we can all talk about how Jimmy Smits is not Bail Organa, and it was, what's his name? Benjamin Bratt. And it was like a 30-second scene, and now we're all over it because in the next arcs he plays a much bigger role.
Okay.
That's why they did it. So now everybody talks about it right now. We're all used to it. Now he's Bail Organa.
I think you guys were right though, because he looked just like him.
He's got that look.
Yeah.
He's got that look.
I think it's actually a little more important than that also because of what's going on, right? So you have a brand
he's getting the FOD. Like, he don't want anything to do with that group.
Well, so I think, take it back even more. So what we have is we have a brand new Imperial Senate being sworn in.
Mm-hmm.
80 brand new spanking senators, right? And 80 parties going on at the same time. And I think what we kind of are made out to understand is that these people that are coming in, and there's some parallels in our current politics too, where you have people who are just kind of like sycophants and they're just there for the glory and the wealth that comes along with being senators. So there's a exchange between Mon and is it Naren or Perrin, her husband?
Yeah, her husband.
Perrin, where they talk about like, how many years was it before you threw your first, I forget what the term is for the investiture or whatever, I forget what it is, of the Senate. And it was like, 3 years or something like that before you threw your first party, and these guys are having it on the first night of being a senator, right? So anyways, they get out of their car, for lack of a better word, and their speeder, and they encounter Bail Organa, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm done. I've done so many." And really, I think what's missed here is like we talked about a little bit before. I think is that they're rivals at this point. They are not friendly, really, other than courteous to
They were
each other.
friendlier than I thought they were going to be,
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
Yeah.
way
I was
friendlier than I
definitely
thought.
not. Yeah.
So the only real reason that they're all doing this is they're senators. They're stumping for
Mhm.
votes within the Senate, and Bale's already made his rounds, and she's just coming to the last one, and he's already been there and leaving. So I think what's missed there is that, um, you know, within all the rest of the rebellion, they're still got, hey, they're still working the political angle here, trying to find votes as if the Senate still matters, right? We
Mm-hmm.
still got a
Yeah.
few more years left of relevancy,
I think
or,
there's like one more year of relevancy. It'll end next week, but then like
for non anyways. But
but that's like the huge breaking point right there. And then by the time we get to episode 4, remember that's the point where the Emperor just dissolves the Senate at
Yeah,
that
I
point.
think you're already seeing at this point that she's running into the fact that nobody's going to go against the Emperor. Like she's
Yeah.
like, let's do something,
Just hit a
let's
wall.
vote, and yeah. So I think it's becoming clear to her that the political plays may be kind of coming to an end. There may be
Yeah.
no way for her to really do anything from that point.
Has there been any talk yet? And maybe I missed it. I haven't seen it in any reviews yet, but there's been zero talk about Vader at this point as don't piss off the Emperor if Vader shows up at your doorstep.
Well,
he's also kind of like in the shadows. And right now, what's happening are all the Inquisitors are happening. So and that's all like off, like hunting down Jedi, doing its own thing. It has nothing to do with anything that happens on Coruscant.
Mm-hmm.
So he's hardly ever there. I mean, he hangs out on Mustafar, if anything.
yeah, he's not a political person.
Yeah, he stays out of all that stuff for the most part,
No,
unless
but, like,
he needs to be brought in. And I think the first time he's really brought in would be the end of Rogue One.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's a scene right in Rogue One between Krennic and
Krennic goes to see him, yeah.
yeah. So people know of him and know that he's the Emperor's.
Krennic
boy.
does. But Krennic's
Yeah.
way high up on the scale.
Yeah.
I mean, Krennic is like right there with Tarkin. It's like the people in that room, I don't even know. Like the room that they talk about Gorman, I don't even know if all of them know about Vader.
No.
I mean, he is like kind of like, and then like until we get to episode 4,
None of them know
when they
about
have when the Death Star is like a thing. That's when Vader's like.
None of them even know the Death Star is being built. Like that's top secret.
No, for sure, right?
Yeah.
I mean that much is granted. I just didn't know, just because you're, Justin, you're like way into.
Yeah, no, like that's what I know. Like is like this is the stuff like, and like when Vader shows up in Rebels, because he shows up in Rebels a few times. Like this is actually around the time where I think he fights Ahsoka. He is. The one thing I would like to hear them mention is Fulcrum. Fulcrum is Ahsoka's name. That's her code name. And they haven't mentioned Fulcrum. So I was hoping in those radio transmissions we would have heard like Fulcrum. That'd have been awesome. But maybe it'd be more next week. We might get more of that. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't need like all the characters to show up. Just as a little like nod to things happening that would be kind of cool.
So right now,
when Vader shows up, like it's not like ever in a place where people would see him.
I
It's
wasn't
like
looking for him to show up, but I was just looking to know: is the fear of the Sith or the power of Vader and the Emperor, is that overshadowing the rest of the Empire, or is the fear of the Empire purely the bureaucracy and the military might of the Imperial Army and Navy at this point, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, for sure. Because even at the beginning of A New Hope, they're like, yeah, whatever, Lord Vader. Like your sorcerer's ways, blah blah blah. They even kind of play it down because they're so proud of their achievement of building this massive space station. Also,
this technological
yeah,
terror.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's just I'm just trying to figure out if
Yeah.
that is going to come into play at all.
It'll be interesting.
Rogue One. Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
yeah.
I think if they do show him, though, it kind of ruins the moment in Rogue One. Or it takes, I shouldn't say ruins, but I think it would suck a little bit of the air out of the room.
Again, I'm not looking for him to show up. I don't want him to show up, but I just would like to know, does his name get dropped and people
is it mentioned or like that that weird caped dude in all black? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, something like that, right? But all right, let's talk about the probably the most important thing I think for Cassian's arc moving into next week, right? So, it's how the episode ends, right?
Masterful.
Oh wait, first, can we talk?
Oh, we got to talk. We got to talk about how they get the transmitter out.
Yeah.
Well, in not so, yeah, I think we should talk about that a little bit. But the end of episode 3 is the intertwine of Cassian rescuing Vix and Wilmon and the death of Brasso, intertwined with the dance at the wedding, and then it's not the last scene, but we have the exact same editing style at the end of episode 6, where now Mon's dance is with Krennic.
Yeah.
While that's interspersed with the ambush and death of Cinta.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I thought that was really awesome, and they reused it. I like it. And we got one more scene and story afterwards, with Bix and Cassian, but I loved how it's again a dance with, and I'm gonna guess we're gonna have some other dance with Mon.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Every week,
it's Mon's dance,
maybe to be done. So, all right, tell us about Cassian and Bix's final story this week.
Well, prior to that, so where all the tension for me and the anxiety for me was, they're doing this mission on Gorman, and then at the same time they're also trying to get this stupid recorder out of this pedestal, and they're doing it in a room with all these Imperials.
Krennic right there.
Krennic's right there, and a bunch of other guys, and it's like, oh my god, somebody's gonna die! Like, I was freaking out.
Move to your left.
Yeah.
This. And Lauren keeps his, Lonnie keeps his cool.
Yeah.
He keeps his cool. He listens to the instruction. He's a little freaked out because he did not expect.
No, he's freaking out.
Yeah, but he's doing it. He's doing his job.
And he's listening to her. She tells him the story of the piece too at the same time.
Yeah. So he's able to recite it back with even more information that he kind of ad-libbed himself.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. Lonnie, though, earlier, we have to go back. Where I said he was the MVP is also because when they're talking about all the bottlenecking and everything, it also has Partagaz then saying that they're going to expand that whole program with the Gorsh or whatever is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they find out that that's going on. Now Luthen has a job for Cassian and Bix.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that was one of the little like things.
Yep.
And I think I need to maybe start watching my second playthrough on these with the closed captioning on. Mm-hmm. Just to get all the names right and everything.
Yeah. There's a lot of moving pieces.
I don't like doing that the first time. I just like absorbing everything. But honestly, I get so much the second watch. I miss a lot in my first watch on these shows. Mm-hmm. And then my second, I'm like, okay, But yeah, so that whole thing, she does get the transmitter out of there. Mon Mothma and Krennic hate each other, and they have that great. I like that dance. That's good. Just them puffing their chests at each other was great. But cut to one of the places on Coruscant where we see Gorsh getting ready to get his stuff going. He's got his little mind control thing working and everything. Somebody breaks in. It's Bix, puts a gun to him, has him sit in the chair, puts the device on him, cranks it all the way to the top. Because if you remember earlier in the episodes, you know, you could see like the meter where it goes, and she pushed it all the way up. All the lights came on, hits the button, and you see that dude just drop. And if you remember from season 1, it's just like 1 minute could be like 30 minutes. Or 1 minute could be 3 years of pain.
Right.
So she just gave it all to him. Like, probably,
It'll just
killed him, but it could have killed him in what his mind could have felt like 300 years.
She said
in that small moment,
She said it'll feel like forever.
Yeah,
that's what she said.
On the little meter with where when she puts it up, count the dots. It might go to 11.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Yeah, then she walks out. She's got Cassian's cape on, or cloak, or coat, or whatever. You see her fire, take out the one Imperial, just smooth. Walking out, Cassian meets her. He hits the button, blows up the building. Awesome.
Okay,
so
but
a little bit of closure.
You guys missed a huge part, though.
Ooh,
and I think it might be the most important scene of that 6th episode. It's when Cassian goes to confront Luthen about going to visit Bix when he wasn't there. And he's basically, because I'm watching this, and now tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Cassian wants help with Bix, and I think from Cassian's point of view, he's like, help me get her better, because the two of us, will help you.
We're a team.
But it came across
I agree.
me
100%. I agree with you 100%. That's what I've been kind of building to this whole time.
It came across to me like I think he just told Luthen that, like, from Luthen's point of view, I think Cassian just said, I'm better on my own without her being, and then I don't know. I felt like
no. I think he told her, I lose her, you lose me, and we are better as a team than I am by myself.
Okay, but see, I don't think that's. See, I didn't hear that. I heard him basically saying, Luthen, you got to take her out. I really felt that's what. No, I really do.
No. You felt that?
I don't think Cassian meant. I don't think Cassian meant, hey, you have to go do this, or you have to kill her, because I can't. I don't think Cassian has any plans to hurt Bix. But I think from Luthen's point of view, he's like, I got to take her out.
No, because I think Luthen's entire thing throughout this arc was that he was getting some humility and some empathy for the people that were working with him, and he wasn't as cold. Where
had that though?
I think Cinta's death and how Val leveled up. I think it's showing us that there, in the midst of this rebellion, there's no place for the love.
So a couple things here, and I know we're getting a little long here, but Val, I don't think leveled up at all. I think she's been at that level since season 1. She was the leader of the mission, against the armory, where half the team dies. I think she's been there the whole time.
She wasn't to where Cinta was, though.
Yeah, Cinta was.
Cinta was way more hardcore.
You're talking about two different things here, though. Cinta is an assassin.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, she had a coldness about her, where Val would have killed that dude first season. Val doesn't kill that guy now.
I don't think Val would have killed him first season.
I think she would have.
I would have.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't have the same, I guess, perspective of Val. She's a leader. She's a mission leader. She's a team leader. She is definitely. I mean, her girlfriend, her love, has been killed. Foolishly, killed. I don't see it causing her to level up in any way. Whether it might make her a little colder.
I don't know if that leveled her up. I'm saying where we were a year, like 2 years now from the time of the heist.
I think she'll be much colder.
I think she's grown as a leader in those 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really. I don't see much. I don't think there's enough of her on screen to really see that.
Hmm.
But what I will say is, Luthen, I do not think we're seeing any empathy from him at all. I think anything you see from him is at the surface only, and I say that because I think he's starting to crash out big time. He is cracking in almost every scene that he's in, and I think that I don't. He might have a little bit of empathy for Bix in the beginning of episode 5, but in when he and Cassian are talking, I think he's kind of threatening Cassian. Hey, like, you got to shake her loose, and Cassian's like, well, I'm not shaking her loose. It's me with her or not me at all is essentially what Cassian is saying, and Luthen's going, all right, well, I guess so. I guess we'll take you both. But Luthen would prefer Cassian on his own. I think you were right on Monday when we talked, Justin. I think Luthen may be responsible for when Bix does fall out of the picture here.
Well, that's
I think so. I think so.
So yeah, who are we gonna guess is their big death next week? It's either Bix or Luthen. I think it's gonna be Bix.
I think Bix dies next.
And Luthen will die in the last arc.
Yeah, absolutely.
We seem to get one at the end of the third episode, right? So it's going to be at the end there. I think I'm going to go with No, I think that's going to be the last week. It's going to be Mon's family in the last week. Next week's going to be Gorman, the Gorman massacre. But the only question is it in the first episode or the last one?
It could be any one of them.
Yeah.
It really could. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. I'm excited to find out about it.
Well, I mean, if we jump a year ahead, then the rebel faction on Gorman will be much bigger and much.
That building's going to be built,
and that building will be done.
Be towering
and it'll be time for the
it'll be
massacre.
Towering over the monument. Yeah.
So next week is 100%. Luthen's trying to foment the rebellion on Gorman. Deidre's trying to foment the rebellion on Gorman, and those two forces are going to intersect next week.
But you've got an entire year that's going to happen. I mean, it could already be at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It could open up with like stormtroopers already walking on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what's happening this year?
Yeah.
I think the rebellion's been going on, but we're going to get the massacre, right? And
Bix,
it's going to come to a head.
Bix might be better. Like a year working with Cassian and going out on missions with him, she might, pull some stuff together. We don't know. I mean, anything.
We'll see.
I didn't see Cyril being a hero.
Strung out, and she's gonna be one of Jabba's slave dancers. We'll find out. All right. You guys done?
Yeah, I feel good.
Good talk. These are good talks. I really am enjoying this. This is a lot of meat to talk about.
So one Easter egg we didn't talk about: the blaster that Bix has is the blaster that Cassian uses to kill Krennic.
Oh, is it? That's cool.
It's the same model, yeah. It is the same model. Yep.
Allegedly, it's the exact same one.
That's cool.
Blaster.
Ooh,
okay.
That's cool.
All right.
So Cassian is carrying around Bix's blaster.
Hey, real quick.
There you go.
What'd you guys think of the Yeti? That Yeti dude was badass.
I was hoping he was gonna have more to do other than just stand there.
I was like, hey, Ray, check out that Yeti. That is not a Wookiee. The face is totally wrong, man. It's totally something cool. Yeah, I like that. That was cool.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd do more. All right, guys, I'm ending it right now.
Cool.
Peace out.
Peace.
Like, subscribe, blah blah blah.